Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. It might be the international break, but that does not stop us from doing some predictions. Today we're going to do our new and improved Premier League predictions. I just do need to point out to those of you guys watching, when we get to the end of the season, the predictions we look back on are the ones from before the season started. So don't get all upset that we're just doing another video today. It's just to kill time during the international break. It is a bit of fun and it's interesting to see how our opinions might have changed. Sophie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
And set us a like target.
Let's go big on this one. Let's go 3,011.
Oh, 3,011. Let's make sure we do that. Take 2 seconds to click that thumbs up button, and please do make sure as well to subscribe. Get involved and help us push to 75,000 subscribers. We will be back with the weekly predictions next week. Let's start by looking at Sophie's original Premier League predictions and see how she would change them. So then, this was Sophie's prediction, and no laughing because everyone gets some predictions wrong. Let's start from the top and work our way down, Sophie. Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. I think we do expect that to be the top three.
Yeah, I'm going to keep the top three the same. I'm not going to change that at the moment. Liverpool have started very strong and it's looking good under Arne Slot. It might not be the most scintillating they play like they did under Jurgen Klopp sometimes, but they look a lot more sure of themselves at the back. 3 clean sheets from 3, which is massive. I know some people will say, oh, they've not played, no offence to Man United, but they've not played any good teams yet to really test that. So I don't want to get ahead of myself and say, oh, they're going to win the league. But right now, they're in the shout. They're in the title race.
Yeah,
gotta be.
It's only been 3 games, so it probably is too early to change your title favourites. It might be boring, but I can understand why you're sticking with Man City.
Yeah.
Arsenal, they have drawn a game, so they've actually already dropped points.
Yeah, so I could maybe switch around Liverpool and Arsenal. Go on, I'll swap those 2 round. I'll have Liverpool to go second, Arsenal to go third. But I don't think there's going to be much in it between those 2 teams.
Okay.
All 3 of them for me are in the title race.
Yes, I think we expect that to be the top 3. Right, let's move on to 4th place. Now, this was a position we all did struggle with predicting before the season started. You went with Manchester United. Are you sticking with that?
I will not be sticking with that. I'm not too sure why I had them 4th, actually. I think I did this last season. I had high expectations for them. They disappointed me. I gave them a second try, and I know it's very early on, but so far, I can't see them finishing 4th.
Who would you move up?
Let's go Villa.
Oh.
This could be between any of those. No, drop United down again.
Again?
Yeah. I think it could be a big fall off, to be honest. I could see them finishing outside the top 8. Because you look at those teams, could they finish higher than Villa, Chelsea, Newcastle, Tottenham?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah. So maybe about 9th.
Blimey. And I think, to be honest, a lot of Manchester United fans probably would agree. If you're being realistic, what we're seeing so far is not good. The only way I can see them actually finishing strong is if they replace Ten Hag and have a really good bounce with a new manager.
I don't usually call for manager's head, but when they decided to stick with him, I should have known then it's going to be a long season for the United fans. Right,
let's do 5th to 8th. Who are you moving up?
It's going to be Brighton.
And how are you going to put these in order? What are you saying?
Do you know what? I might spot Brighton and Spurs. I'm going to keep Chelsea 5th because they've got a massive squad, as everyone knows. So if they do get a few injuries, which they tend to, they have got cover in a lot of positions. Newcastle, again, last season they struggled with a lot of injuries. So if they go for a long spell without big injuries to key players, I think they'll finish up there. Brighton, they've started well. They have spent a lot of money though. So people are like, oh wow, Brighton are doing good. Yeah, but they have spent. So you do expect them to finish a little bit higher. Do you know what? I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah?
I'm going to stick with them.
Yeah, and to be honest, I've been very impressed by Brighton. Like, really, really good. Spurs, they've only got 4 points. Man United have only got 3. So you'll have Man United 9th. And this is always a difficult bit. Mid-table.
I know. I don't know what to do here. I don't know whether to... I'm not moving Man United up. I've already moved them down. West Ham... Could they finish in front of Man United? Possibly, but I'm going to keep it the same because I feel a little bit harsh on Man United. Already moving them down so far. Palace, I might have to drop a little bit, you know. The way they've started hasn't been great. They're currently in the bottom 3.
Where are you thinking? Or down even more? Or...
possibly down a little bit more.
Right, we'll come back to that. So maybe West Ham 10th, and then would you say Bournemouth 11th?
No. Oh, this is so tricky. Swap them and Wolves at the moment.
Wolves have only got 1 point.
I know, but I expect them to come good. Oh, this is so tricky because I'm going to have Fulham to finish a little bit higher. I think Forest could finish higher as well. This is a tricky... do you know what? Okay, move Fulham up for me.
So, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th?
No, move Fulham. Swap Fulham and Wolves a sec.
Like that?
Yeah, go on then.
You're making it up as you're going along. I tell you what, it's really difficult predicting
so
the table.
hard, yeah.
We'll probably get to the end of the season and there's about 3 points separating about 4 teams. Okay, you're rolling with that.
Do you know, I'm half tempted to swap Wolves and Forest.
It's up to you.
Go on, I'll swap Wolves and Forest.
Oh!
Because I do think Wolves will come good, have them maybe above Palace at the moment.
Right, so you put Forest in mid-table here, 13th, which is 2 places better than you originally thought. They've not lost yet, they've picked up 5 points. Their fixtures have been okay, to be fair, and I think they've got Liverpool away after the international break, which will be tricky. But they've been good so far, Forest.
They have, yeah.
So that's your middle, yeah?
Yeah, I'm happy with that now.
Wolves 14th?
Yeah, I'll have them there.
And then Palace, surely no lower than 15th?
No lower. I think I've got them in the lowest position that I think they'll finish. I can see them finishing higher than that. I think they will have good periods, but right now, the way they're starting and the way they're playing, I'm like, I can't see them finishing higher, much higher than that. So that's why I've got them in that category.
So this is your bottom 5. I think I know who's going to move up.
So I'm going to swap Brentford for Southampton.
So Brentford go in there.
Yeah.
And you're going to plunge Southampton in.
They can go rock bottom, actually.
Okay.
I had a change of heart with that one.
So Brentford, I mean, to be honest, I saw a few people predicted them to go down.
Yeah.
But they've been good so far.
They have. They have got some good players. I was worried how they'd get on without Tony, but they showed before he even went that they can put in good performances without him. So I think they're going to be fine this season. I have changed my mind on them.
Okay. So now you've left with 4 teams. Everton, Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton. And there has been some big news in the last 24 hours that Leicester won't be getting a points deduction.
And that's what's changing my mind. So I'm going to have Leicester to stay up. So who am I having to go down?
Everton.
It's going to have to be Everton, I'm afraid. The way they're playing at the moment, the way they chucked away a 2-goal lead against Bournemouth at home, and you just think, oh, maybe things are starting to go a little bit better for them now. No, they concede 3 so late on, throw all 3 points away, don't even come away with a point.
Surely, I mean, just to play the devil's advocate here, Everton don't go down.
They don't go down, but there's always that chance, and it's got to happen at some point. If they keep flirting with it, one time they'll get sucked into it. And I think the difference now could be Leicester not having the points deduction.
Yeah.
Because I think if Leicester and Everton played right now, I'd fancy Leicester to win.
Yeah. Okay. So Leicester have got 1 point. Ipswich have got 1 point. Everton have got 0, and Southampton have got 0. Let's just go through this again. Southampton, you think will be bottom?
Yeah, go on then.
They've been poor so far.
They have.
It's a shame, but I think they need to improve drastically. And they've lost 3 games where you thought they'd get something from.
Yeah.
Everton or Ipswich, who's higher?
I'll have Ipswich to be higher just because I think they could surprise a couple of teams. A lot of people now know what they're going to come up against with Everton, whereas I think Ipswich in some ways have that surprise element. They scored against Man City very early on. They looked good at times against Liverpool, so I know they didn't come away with anything from either of those games, but it's the way they're playing where I think at some point they will start to get some points, but I don't think it'll be enough to stay up.
Okay, interesting. I mean, do you know what? We've got plenty of Everton fans that watch the channel. I'm interested to get your thoughts because there are plenty that are realistic and think, oh God, not this again. I hope we survive. And there's some that are like, oh, we'll be all right. I don't know. It's difficult.
And how hard done by would you feel if you're an Everton fan? You've just seen the news that Leicester haven't got a points deduction and they have been screwed over, let's say. Let's not beat around the bush. Everton have been screwed over by points. They just seem to be the whipping boy of the Prem. and Leicester have gotten away with it.
Yeah, I was going to mention that actually. It's quite ironic that Everton always get hit with a points deduction, and what could relegate them is Leicester not getting hit with a points deduction. So there you go. Are you happy with that table?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to keep it like that at the moment. We're only 3 games into the Prem. It's very early days. This could all change. Could have a completely different opinion in a couple of weeks' time, but right now I'm fairly happy with that.
There you go. So that is Sophie's new and improved prediction. Let's move on to my prediction now and see what I have to say. So then on to my Premier League prediction from the start of the season, and this is what it is. After 3 games, what changes am I going to make? Well, let's see. Let's start at the top then, like Sophie did. Arsenal, I predicted to win the league. It's too early to say if that's going to come true or not, so I'm going to stick with it because I would just look fickle to change it after 3 games, because so far I think so good for Arsenal. Yes, they drew with Brighton. Yes, it's frustrating, but I think performance-wise we're seeing the same Arsenal as last season, and can they capitalise this time around and just be that little bit better to overtake Man City? I think it's possible, so I'm going to stick with Arsenal to win the league. Man City, I'll keep them seconds. I can't put them any lower than that. But at the same time, I would love to put Liverpool top 2 or even to win the league. But it's so difficult. You know, one of these 3 are going to finish 3rd. And maybe I'll just go with the continuity at Arsenal and Man City with the managers to just have that edge over Liverpool. But honestly, I'm loving Liverpool and Arne Slot right now. Let's keep that as it is. And Aston Villa, I predicted to finish 4th. I'm going to keep that as it is. I do need to add the caveat that what could change my mind on Aston Villa this season is when we start to see them play in Europe. That's not happened yet. If the Champions League really distracts them, as some people think it might, then maybe they might finish a bit lower. But so far, so good. 2 wins from 3 games. The only game they've lost is to Arsenal, so that's not exactly a crisis. Yeah, I think Villa have carried on from where they've left off, and some of those new additions, like Onana, for example, are looking really good. So I'm going to stick with my top 4. Let's move on to 5th to 8th. I don't think Manchester United will finish 5th. I agree with Sophie, actually. Manchester United, I'm going to move down a category, and it's not just being over dramatic after 3 games. It's not good enough. This is now the 3rd season with Ten Hag, and I don't see any progress whatsoever. If anything, it sometimes looks like they're going backwards. And that's not me picking on Manchester United. If you're a Manchester United fan, I do want to get your thoughts. But I think a lot of you would agree with me. It's just not very promising so far. So who am I going to have 5th? I'm going to go with Newcastle. They've had a good start. 7 points so far. Very good. Let's have Newcastle 5th. Maybe they could get into the top 4 again this season, which would be amazing, and it's definitely possible now they're not in a European competition. Who am I going to have in 6th place? I'm going to stick with Chelsea. Yep, I think I'm happy with that. I think Chelsea are good, but not quite top 4 in terms of consistency, but I don't think they'll be 8th or 9th. I think they're right in the middle of that. I think the best way to describe Chelsea is that they are Europa League, and that's not an insult. I just think that's where they are. So I'm going to put them there, even though they're playing in the Conference League this season. I'm going to move Spurs to 7th. I did have them 8th originally, and I'm going to put Brighton up to 8th now. I did have them as far down as 11th, which is terrible. I don't think they're going to finish 11th. I think they will be top 8 and possibly getting back into Europe. What I've seen so far from Brighton has been really impressive. So that's my top 8. Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, Spurs, Brighton. Man United, I'll keep them 9th. I'm going to stick with that. Let's have West Ham 10th. I think West Ham will be top half. So far they've been alright, haven't they? I mean, they lost to Villa, they've lost to Man City, but they've beaten Palace. Maybe probably what you expect from West Ham. I think they're just about a top half Premier League team. Looked okay so far. Still got a few new players that are being knitted into that team. Let's go with Bournemouth 11th. Honestly, Bournemouth have been great. I think I'll have them a bit higher than Sophie did because they've got 5 points so far, but they could have had more. They could have beaten Newcastle. They played quite well against Forest in spells, and I just think as time goes on, they're going to address the miss that is Solanke. If anything, it maybe doesn't actually look like they do miss him, because they just scored 3 goals in the last 5 minutes at Everton. So maybe I'm just chatting waffle. Let's have Bournemouth in 11th. I think they've been great, and just this solid Premier League club that are not going anywhere anytime soon. Let's have Palace 12th. I'm happy with that. And I think I'll do a little switch with Forest going 13th, and I'll just have Wolves 14th. Forest, let's talk about them. They've been good. They have had reasonable fixtures so far, but they've done probably what I'd expect them to. So Forest are going very well at the minute. And remember, they've got quite a few new players that are still being knitted into that team. If I was a Forest fan, I'd be feeling pretty optimistic. You know, I think we spoke about that in a video the other day. So yeah, decent start. Wolves, I'll have 14th, just because it's difficult with Wolves. They've had 3 difficult games. They've played Chelsea at home, which they were terrible in, let's be honest, in the second half. First half they were okay, second half they were terrible. Before that they lost to Arsenal away. Okay, I don't think you can judge a Wolves on losing away to Arsenal. And then they've picked up a draw at Forest, which is a game they could have gone under in. So I think they're going to grow into it when the fixtures get nicer. So let's have Wolves 14th. Fulham, I'll keep Fulham 15th. I think Sophie has them a bit higher, but I'm fairly optimistic that they'll be clear of trouble. But I still think they've lost a few key players that might see them struggle to get closer to 10th, if you know what I mean. And then I agree with Sophie, thinking this will be the bottom 5. Let's first of all get Brentford out the way. I just don't think Brentford are going to go down. No way, Jose. Let's move all of these teams down so we know what we're looking at here. We've got the 3 newly promoted teams and Everton. I think Southampton will finish bottom. It's what I originally predicted, and I'm going to stick with it. I'd love to see Southampton stay up. We've got plenty of Southampton fans that watch the channel, but I can't base it on that. I just don't think they've been good enough so far, and a real cause for concern for me. I think really it's going to be one of these 3 that stay up. And I'm going to stick with Ipswich. I'm going to stick with Ipswich to stay up. I did predict it at the start of the season, and what I've seen so far is good enough. Let's be honest, they've played Liverpool at home, Man City away, and Fulham at home. I think 1 point from those 3 is actually pretty good. The first 2 games are just so difficult for a newly promoted team, and they didn't lose to Fulham. There's some upcoming games like Brighton away and Southampton away that are massive. In particular, the Southampton game. But I think Ipswich did the double over Southampton last season, and you look at the business they've done, I just think they might be the team that survives. So I think Leicester go down, and to be honest, I'm glad Sophie's gone with them to stay up, so at least one of us have. I think not having a points deduction could actually really give them a lift now as well. And Steve Cooper did get Forest over the line. It'll be difficult with Leicester, it's possible, but I'm going to keep them in my bottom 3. And yeah, I'm going to go with Everton. I, of course, think Everton could still stay up, but what I'm seeing so far is not encouraging whatsoever, and just a real capitulation. They need to get their act together pretty soon, otherwise I worry. And I think their best chance of staying up is with Sean Dyche, but even then the results have not been good enough. So that is what I'm going to go with. Share your thoughts on my new and improved Premier League table. So then guys, that wraps up the predictions. That is myself and Sophie giving our new and improved Premier League predictions. Instead of getting upset in the comments, just share your predictions. It's okay if you disagree, but let's have a nice conversation about it. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Make sure to drop a like. We're going for a big like target, and do make sure to subscribe. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
We will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace out.